All right, thanks, Nick, and welcome everyone. We are at reInvent 2024 live in Las Vegas at the Expo Hall at the Venetian. And you can see we're live. We have people going behind us. We have the big AWS area behind us. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Jeff Marushak. I'm a senior solutions architect on our Department of Defense Air Force team, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Fiona.
Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Fiona McCann. I'm a solution architect in the public sector. I work with nonprofit organizations, and I'm very excited to be hosting and back here live with you all. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We're hoping that you're going to love this segment and that you're going to want to join in and maybe ask some questions as we go through it.
Great. And so who are our guests? Can you guys introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Mahesh Mishra. I'm a product manager with AWS.
All right.
Fantastic.
Hello all, I'm Harshita Patel. I'm a solution architect focusing on Redshift.
Fantastic. Okay, so you are both here because there's a new service that's been launched as of today, correct?
Yep.
Would you mind telling our audience what is it that has very recently been announced?
So today we announced Amazon SageMaker, Lakehouse, and it's a new Lakehouse capability that unifies data lakes and data warehouse, providing open access to all your data with Iceberg compatibility. And you can, it has integrated permissions, so you can set up permission once that rules all your data.
All right, so let's take a step back for everyone on Twitch, because we have a lot of folks watching live on Twitch. We've heard data lakes, and we've heard about data warehouses, and what you just said was SageMaker, Lakehouse. So if we talk about a data lake, it's typically kind of, you throw all your data, it might be semi-structured, structured, but a warehouse, I always think of like the ending of the Indiana Jones movie where they have that big warehouse, everything is perfectly ordered and it's structured data, and it sounds like SageMaker Lakehouse is going to allow you to have best of both worlds, bring them together. Can you explain?
Yeah, so the way it works is we have been hearing from customers that the data lake and data warehouses, the workloads are merging. Like customers who are using data lakes, they want more and more kind of transactional capabilities from their data lakes. Similarly, customers who use the data warehouses, they have structured data, but they want open source compatibility and open format and access for all their query engines, right? So what we are doing with SageMaker Lakehouse is we are bringing these two worlds together and giving open access to all your data. Now you can, in your data lake storage, you can store your structured data in Iceberg format and access it using Iceberg APIs. The same time, if you have data in your warehouse or you want to use a warehouse storage for transactional workloads, you can store it there and access it from Iceberg as well.
So let's say I have some data over here and it's structured. I have some data that's over here, it's unstructured.
Right.
I have an application that I want to be building, and maybe previously I would have to separately interact with these two different data locations. Maybe they had different sets of permissions. Now what we've got is one way to interact with both of them together in a unified way with centrally managed permissions and centralized querying.
Yeah. A slight difference to that. We're talking about structured data when we're talking about this lakehouse. And what has happened in the last few years is these open table formats have come, and customers store these structured data in the data lake itself. And they also take some of this data, copy it over to the data warehouse, and then get the best performance out of their BI analytics workloads, right? So what we are doing is like having two different systems creates two different silos, and they have to set up permission in two different places. They have to store metadata in two different places, bringing that together. Manage data one way, but access from any query engine you want.
And so this centralized permissions that you have, how fine-grained can users go?
You can go to a cell level. The way, if you're looking at a spreadsheet, a single box in the spreadsheet is a cell level.
You only have access to that one little piece of data, okay.
Right, so basically the way to think about this is I have a table, it's a structured table, it has, columns and everything. You can define permission at a table level, say that, hey, you can have access to the entire table, and you can even go down and make it even fine-grained, saying you can have access to specific columns, or you can say you can have access to everything except these columns.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then if
So
you
they
want
have choice.
yeah. And then it is inclusion and exclusion list. You
Right.
choose whatever you want, what suits you, and then you can set row level filters saying like, hey, someone like say Harshida can access only US data, and Mahesh can access only UK data. And you can define those filters on the data, and when the user comes in, those permissions are enforced, and you combine them, you go to a cell level.
Yeah, I can imagine that this might be a really good thing for an enterprise data steward who is trying to deal with all these different groups who have already started and have everything siloed, and they're trying to figure out how everyone to work together. So I can imagine this making their life a little bit easier. But also, let's ask all of our viewers, let's take a poll, and where would you store, or where do you store your data analytics data? And put it in the chat and let us know. And we'd be interested to find out.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so, we're talking about, some of the challenges that this solution is helping us overcome. Harshita, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit of what are the biggest pain points that customers were telling you that have led us to this solutions? What was really taking a lot of time for developers before?
Absolutely. So when customers have their workload, they have data on S3, they have data on their data warehouse based on their application. So with this Amazon SageMaker Lakehouse, it allows you to combine your data on the data lake with the data warehouse. The other big challenge is unified governance. Having a central place to provide the access control, whether the data is on the data warehouse or on the data lake. And thirdly, providing the ability to access this data using Apache Iceberg API,
Right.
which also allows, say, for example, open source Apache Spark can write to the RMS storage. So that provides that flexibility, and it opens up a venue for more workload and use
Yeah,
cases.
she brought up a very good point actually. If you think about today, the workloads are changing. Customers want to the data and AI workloads are kind of, when you have say SQL workloads, you have AI workloads, you have streaming workloads, they actually interact with the same data set, right? What is more important is you have one copy of the data, and then any query engine or any workload can run against it,
Right.
That is most important. Otherwise, you'll have multiple copies of the data spread across the organization. Governance is broken. You do not have control over it, right? So SageMaker Lakehouse is essentially giving you access over a single copy of data through this Iceberg compatible layer.
So what you're saying is that customers don't need to copy their data from all these different locations that have this set as a copy of that data, which might decrease safety and security because it isn't as controllable.
Right.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, the one thing I'm hearing more and more about, it just seems like I hear the term Iceberg more and more. It's getting more and more popular. A lot of our services are utilizing the Iceberg format, so that's really exciting.
Yeah, Iceberg has been very, in last few years, it has been a very popular open table format. There are two aspects to it. People know Iceberg for its open table format aspect of it, and it also provides a very good abstraction catalog API. They call it Iceberg REST catalog APIs, right? What it essentially does, it provides you a open source specification of how you manage your table metadata. Right. So what we are doing here in the SageMaker Lakehouse is we have this Iceberg REST catalog API layer that represents every table in different storage system as an Iceberg table. And so when a client comes in, it sees that table as an Iceberg table, and there is no issue in interoperability across engines.
Yeah, so this sounds really cool. I hear you guys have a demo. I think I know me and Fiona
I'd
would
love
love
to see it.
But our viewers live on Twitch would love to see this in action. Can we pull this up and show us around?
Absolutely. Let's dive into the demo.
All right.
So we'll start off with, there was another announcement of Amazon SageMaker Studio, which allows you to unify.
Yep.
So I've already logged on to SageMaker, Amazon SageMaker Studio, and already have a pre-existing project.
There you go.
So consider project as your domain of your data set. What we are going to work with is the sales data. So first, you as an end user, you want to go through your data catalog. The data could be on your data lake, data could be on your data warehouse. So one of the data set that we already have on the data warehouse, it's events data.
Okay.
And as Mahesh described, that what this provides is the ability to access this data not only from your data warehouse, but any other services or products that supports.
Just to add
Iceberg.
there, what she's showing is there is a lake house inside a project. Project is a logical construct where people work, right? It's a team space. And the lake house is basically your data area. And what she has done is she has brought her data warehouse into the project. And these tables are showing up as Iceberg tables to every query engine that the customer is going to use.
So now you can query this data that you have in your Lakehouse, whether you want to use Athena, Redshift, or even Jupyter Notebook. So let's go ahead and I'll click on Query with Athena.
Okay.
So while we are querying this data set with Athena, I'll also go ahead and show you a Jupyter Notebook.
Okay.
So in this Jupyter Notebook, we are using PySpark, connecting to the catalog, which is DW,
Right.
and the catalog name is events data.
Okay.
So first we are establishing the connection. As soon as the connection is created, what we are using is Spark to create a table in a Redshift managed storage. And then we'll go back to SageMaker Studio to look at and query that data.
Got it.
So the key aspect here is we are creating an Iceberg compatible table in Redshift managed storage. The Redshift managed storage itself is exposed as a storage layer so that now you have BI transactional workload. You can use that purpose-built store to store your Iceberg compatible tables.
And is that stored by you, by the service team?
It's a completely fully managed storage offering on Lakehouse. So
Got it.
customers do not have to think about, hey,
That's
I
not
have a
even something-
transactional workload. What should I do? Should I
Right.
store it in Lake?
Okay.
No, you have an option now.
Beautiful. All right,
Right.
let's keep going.
So this is the result that we ran using Athena, and we are able to view the sales data. So we'll go back to Jupyter Notebook.
Okay. So that was just to show us what that table looks like.
That's correct.
Perfect.
So if the connection, so I'll reinitiate the connection.
Okay.
This is creating the table on the Redshift managed storage. Once the table is created, you can load the data directly from PySpark. And once the data is loaded, the table is created in the Redshift managed storage.
Okay.
So this is where the studio allows you to unify your experience. You can discover your data, look at through the catalog. You can also build your pipeline using the products of your choice or services of your choice.
So now we've made that connection to an external data source. It's done a transformation so that it's now stored by the service team. It's managed by the service team. And now that newly created data set, which is really just a connection to their existing data set, is queryable on SageMaker.
That is correct.
So,
yes.
So you have a data warehouse. You just brought that to the Lakehouse. That is the events data warehouse that you are seeing,
Amazing.
right?
There you go.
It's just a click
Yeah.
of a button. You may have a petabyte of data.
Right.
You are not
Right.
moving the data. All you are doing is making it look like an Iceberg table, right? And then any Iceberg compatible query engine can query the data.
Is there any time for the Iceberg metadata to be kind of created, or this is where my ignorance around Iceberg comes into?
Yeah, it's a representation of the same table in Iceberg metadata layer.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I know with different data sources, sometimes you use different search engines or search ways to search different areas of storage, but it sounds like you can use a unified search across both of these elements here.
Exactly.
That's good.
Think about it as your system table for all your query engines. In a database, if you go and look at your system tables, you'll be able to see all the databases and tables. This is the system table for all your query engines. They once connect to it, they will be able to discover all the data based on permission, for
Right.
sure,
Yeah.
right? And then they query it.
And updates that are made to those original data sources, how quickly are they reflected?
It's not. It's a transactionally consistent store. So the moment you write something, commit is complete, data is ready for query.
And can we read and write between the two? Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. So I was wondering, do you have any, customer use cases that you've heard a specific customer is interested about this, or, a case that you think this will be perfect for?
Yeah, I was talking to one of the customers yesterday, where what they are doing is they have some analysts who use Spark prevalently, and some of their BI reports are running on top of Redshift. And because they have a need for the analyst to use Spark to create features and machine learning models and everything on top of it, they are forced to store the data in a S3 storage layer.
Right.
But with this model, now they can store with a highly optimized storage layer, but still can access it from Spark.
There you go. We do also have a quiz question. I mean, we're talking about Lakehouse. There's an American movie. It's called The Lakehouse. Everyone who's tuned in and watching us, we've got this poll question for you. What was that movie based on? Lakehouse. So hopefully everyone can join in and join us in the conversation. And everyone who's here in chat as well, please do join in. Are there any questions that you have about this service? Is there anything that you'd like to see in the future? And to our guests who are here, is there anything that's coming that you're excited about with this feature?
There is the vision here is to unify all the data. There is we have started our journey for federation, meaning if you have data sets stored in somewhere like BigQuery or Snowflake or some other relational databases, we can simply federate to that and then access the data. You can access the data from Athena. But in future, we are going to follow the same model. Those data sets can be accessible just like any other Iceberg table.
Yeah, earlier we kind of talked a little bit about enterprise data stewards maybe liking this, and you've kind of hit on the fact that maybe some BI teams have an established process. They know where their warehouse is. And then to me, it seems like a new idea comes up and someone thinks, oh, we have this data here. Maybe we can use it with our warehouse analytical data. I think this would be a good use case. But I'd love to know, have you heard specific use cases or the type of folks or IT folks that would really benefit from this, besides kind of what we've already touched on?
Yeah, so some of the use cases can be, if you materialize views, for example, right? So if you have Redshift as a query engine, you can create a materialized view, which is basically a SQL query, which will store the result of the query in a tabular format, right? And then if you register that data warehouse with the Lakehouse, that materialized view will also be accessible as an Iceberg table. So think about how much work we are going to reduce for customers where they have complex transformations. All they can do is create a materialized view, publish it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
great.
How do you see this, changing the experience of a developer who has previously struggled with, these complex?
I think the key value here is time to your insights, right? Where if you have to do solve a new use case today, you have to copy data over to a specific storage system.
That's usually the first part that could take months,
right,
before you can start to experiment with the data. It's like, how do we get the data? Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and we know that, there's all this talk of Gen AI and these opportunities for fantastic applications, but none of those applications will be successful without really clean, unified data sources.
Exactly.
So this really is the foundation for all that other exciting AI stuff that we're talking about at reInvent.
Absolutely, yeah.
So everyone, thanks for tuning in. We're almost done here, but before we leave, we'd like to ask you, our listeners, about how you think our show is doing today, how me and Fiona are doing, or things you'd like to see. We're going to release a poll for you to take, and I think there's a little bit of a prize available for the first 100 survey takers.
That's true. If you're one of the first 100 survey takers, you will be getting a $19 gift certificate for AWS credits. I think that's worth it. I think they should probably take the survey, shouldn't they?
Yeah, I think so too. So
it also helps us make AWS OnAir a better experience for you. We're doing our best to bring content that you're looking for and answer the questions that you have.
Great. So with 1 minute left, the last thing, someone who wants to know more, where do they go? Who do they talk to learn more about SageMaker Lakehouse?
SageMaker Lakehouse has a dedicated product detail page. A lot of resources. We have blogs and everything published, so customers can go there. We have fully, we have a documentation for the service. This would be, they can go to the product detail page and get to all the details there.
Cool. And I'll add, go to your AWS account team if you're working with one, because the SAs like me and Fiona will be able to help you out as well. So
Absolutely, and it sounds like the documentation is already out there. So hopefully if you've been tuned in and you're excited about SageMaker Lakehouse, you'll go online, look it up, and get into that documentation. With that, that brings us to the end of this segment. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to our fantastic guests for joining us. We are going to be right back with the one and only Jeff Barr. He's going to be here. We're going to get to interview him. You're going to get to ask him your questions, so you won't want to miss this. Stay tuned.
And you're going to find out what
Thank
color
you.
his hair is.